she still can't even stand.
She's so wobbly.
Sean Whaley is furious.
She's upset. But 100%.
I was going to say pay-per-view card, but post number fight. How we doing, everyone? Welcome in to a brand new edition of Axe Kick Picks, episode 220. Today is Friday, March 13th, Friday the 13th, 2026. Thank you guys for checking in with us, wherever you may be and however you may be listening to. Kid, how we doing? We had some 80-degree weather, and then now we're back to 40.
Yeah, I got that fall spring hitting us.
Yep. How we doing?
Doing good, man. Yeah, the old Colin callback. However you may be listening, I love that, bro. Yeah, I mean, it's hard not to say. Like, I guess the TKO banner, right? Like, is it reserved for the WWE to just use PLE? Can the UFC use that as well? It's not the same. It's a numbered event, is what we have.
A number event, yeah. And even Anik and Rogan and even the people who work directly for the UFC, even they've gotten caught saying pay-per-view because they're just so used to it.
I mean, 30 years of the UFC. It's been pay-per-view ever since its origin. I bet that's how you would view it. And that's some of the old boxing matches, I'm sure, was like on like CCTV. Like, you 100%. Had to basically pay for the closed circuit access of whatever venue was recording. So it was very different from then to where we are today.
100%. But regardless, we got a great episode for you guys. We'll recap UFC 326. The Freedom 250 card was announced. We will talk about that. We're right back in action at the Meta Apex for UFC Vegas 114. We'll have predictions there. Some news. I mean, a lot of fights were broken down and previewed yesterday by Dana White and the Brass. So we'll talk about all the fights that were announced. And then we'll end in Poland where KSW 116. But, Joe, we will start in lovely Las Vegas. There's a new baddest motherfucker, and his name is Charles Do Bronx Oliveira.
Champion has a name.
Yeah, and dominated unanimous decision win over Max Holloway. There was really nothing Max could have done, if I'm being honest. So many ways I could go and how I want to take this conversation. One, I guess, what are your thoughts on the fight before we get into the nitty gritty about what the BMF belt means, how they should have fought, yada, yada, yada. But thoughts on the fight, and did you think Charles did what he needed to do?
Yeah, I think the bad taste we all have is you hope for a BMF to mostly stay standing, not for someone to implement their game plan. And that's unfortunate because that's what we were talking about with this quote unquote gimmicky belt, is that you get a gimmick out of the fans too. It's not just the fighters, it's the fans that are expecting something. And when you have expectations, it leave you disappointed. But I don't blame Charles at all. He showed levels when it comes to the grappling. There's ever a time you look at all the other guys that came to test Max besides Ilya, they failed. Let's test one of the best boxing strikers in the UFC history. Let's try to fight on the feet the guy who has the most significant strikes in UFC history by a mile, and see the outcome of that. I think Charles played his game plan perfectly and utilizing his grappling. Obviously, there's levels there. There's levels on the feet. If he were to stay standing with Max, it might not have been well for him. So I think what Charles did, even though it might have had a little distaste for the public enjoyance or the people watching, I think a lot of us hardcores can realize, I mean, that was the smartest thing for him to do to kind of reclaim the throne of, right there in the title picture, because I think we were all kind of looking past Charles as well. You look past Charles and saying, you know what, Max he got this in a bag. The odds as a favorite. You've said it. You asked me, who am I going to lean? I didn't give you a lean. I went with the under. I was expecting a BMF title fight. So I even got, accosted by that, but I was going to go with Max. You know what I mean? I expected that Max may have had a little bit more, but man, if you just completely shut that out with the grappling, and there's not many that are going to be on the level of Charles Oliveira. He did what he needed to do. He fought, honestly, the perfect fight for him.
Yeah.
Max got to go back to the drawing board, though.
100%. And shout out Dave Ross. He bet Charles at plus 160, bet him again at plus 180.
Sharp.
He knew what it was. And I think you hit the nail on the head, kid. Expectations. We expected something something totally, completely different. And yes, to the casual, I understand their issue with the fight. It was boring, but it was a dominant win. He
Shut him out.
Yeah, he shut him out, and I think the first takedown, how easy it was for him, he just kept doing it and doing it. He kept
Is
him
rising and Max is
decreasing.
yeah.
And you gotta give credit to Max. He didn't get tapped out because a lot of people would have gotten tapped out by Charles. Having
How good his submission defense is. You look at the history of it. The only one to ever tap Max was Dustin in the like OG days.
yeah, and I think he had over 20 minutes of ground control. So
Had his back for about half of that as well.
I'm very pro grappling, pro wrestling, but I think expectations. That's why I think we need to do away with the belt.
Yeah.
And if I'm being honest, yes, credit to Charles for winning the fight. He looked huge in there. I think he played himself out of the Conor fight. I think if anything, Max has a better shot at getting Conor now than Charles because the UFC has come out and said they don't want to see these fights.
No. Yeah. And like you said, how you fought that fight is what we're going to expect. What it's always a case in this sport of what have you done for me lately? And we're going to go into, let's say, if it was a hypothetical matchup of Charles and Conor, you're going to go into that and be like, man, Conor's going to get out grappled. Like, hand over fist, that's going to happen. But you want Conor to get back into the UFC octagon against another striker, against an opponent that's going to keep the fight standing, make for an entertainment fight. And that's something that he said himself. So I think it's not only from the brass, but you're hearing from the horse's mouth.
I also think Conor has impeccable timing as well and like just life. I mean, you date back to the whole Floyd Mayweather thing, getting the new deal. They would never do that right now. But back when they needed more notoriety, he gets the Floyd deal or the Floyd fight. Then he fights at MSG on the return. Now he misses out on the White House card or Freedom 250. I think they want him to fight for July 11th in International Fight Week. I think everything lines up perfectly for him.
Yeah, he certainly does. And you're right. He does come in at the right opportune times, but he did say it himself as well, is that you might not get Conor on these big, like numbered events or like big momentous occasions like a Freedom 250 or IFW International Fight Week, because it's like a twofer. He said it himself. The UFC always likes to put me UFC 301, like, because you're going to be like, you're getting a twofer. You're going to be like, I'm going to watch UFC 300 because it's the 300th event they have. It's a momentous occasion, but I'm then to watch Conor in the event after. So he's always been something that's going to steal the headlines, steal the viewership, even after a massive event.
But like you said, it's a step in. It's only one step. You know, we say 2 steps forward, maybe 2 steps back. I only think it's 1 step back here for Max. He's still a Hall of Famer in my book, and I think, goes back to the drawing board. He's going to be back. And last time he lost, look what happened. He went on a run again. So you can never count Max out. I think he'll be fine. What's next do you want for Charles? Because, he did call out. He wants to be on that Freedom card. And there are reports, Ariel Helwani came out and said, maybe they're not done adding to the card just yet. So maybe there's room for that, but what do you see? Do you see him defending the belt? Like, what do you think here for Charles?
We had the question marks, and we're going to get into it. I hate to steal it from the 250, but you see what the fight was announced there at the lightweight main event, Ilya and Gaethje, and it makes sense. But we could have had the Islam fight, right? We could have had Ilya and Islam. Ilya seems to be chasing Islam. Islam goes to welterweight, and then
fakes an injury,
and then you have Arman. Arman is the wild card in all this. Arman, I think, could possibly, you look at what happened in that matchup at UFC 300. Arman arguably lost that. You got to look at the positions that he was in throughout the duration of that fight. Charles had him in trouble first and the third round, almost sinking in his guillotines on both of those. Remember, he had his pants down, yet lost in a split decision. Arman won that fight. So with all these runbacks that we're seeing, we're getting a couple, twos, just like we did in this 326. Who's to say that we can't get a Charles Oliveira and Arman Tsarukyan?
I love it. I love the call out. And I think that's a title eliminator. You pair those two up. Winner gets the winner of Gaethje and Ilia Topuria.
Yeah, if that Islam's completely off the table, like I mean? Like I said, as I called the Hamzat height to get ahead, not moving weight classes. I think the movement of these weight classes might be stopped for a little while. I don't think we're going to see Ilya jump. I don't see we're going to see Islam come down. I feel like you're right. The lightweight class is going to move on with these 4 guys.
Talk about getting passed up on Nasruddin Imavov. I mean,
Oh,
geez. Feel
yeah.
bad for that guy. We'll talk about it a little later,
Yeah.
but yeah. So I love the call out. We'll see what happens in that lightweight division, but there is a new champion, and I know, hate it or love it, he didn't need to stand and bang with him. That's the thing, and he fought the perfect fight. Love it or hate it, that was the right fight. That was the right way to win that fight.
Yeah,
you're not going to want to stand and bang with Max Holloway.
He did what was best for him, and you got to shout out to Diego Lima camp because they're fantastic.
Ridiculous. Kind of lackluster chief support in my opinion. Caio Bahayo against RDR.
That's what you get with Bahayo's fights, though.
Yeah, and to be honest, 30-27 times 3, I disagree. I thought RDR won round 2. I thought it was 19-19 going into round 3. I had a +3.5 ticket. I was fuming in the mouth because I was just like, no way. But he did announce later in the week that he is moving up to light heavyweight RDR, and I think that's the right move.
Yeah,
you saw that. You saw what he did in 1. I don't even necessarily think it was the weight cut. It's just I think this division for the not the welterweight, middleweight is just one of the best it's ever been right now. And
now it's hot.
I don't think that's smart for RDR. So go up to 205.
Yeah, and it needed 205 needs some guys, right? Yeah. Heavyweight and light heavyweight kind of suffering a little bit at the moment. And I think the only takeaway I would say about RDR moving up light heavyweight is people in the past seeing how he did in his title attempt in 1. But that was against Anatoly Malakin, who is a heavyweight, who cut down tremendously to get to 205 to make that fight happen. So I think it was RDR going up against a very big guy who just, had the will to cut that weight and become a 2-weight champ. As much as RDR was going for 2-weight champ, Malakin was as well. We can't deny that a lot of these other promotions have some world-class guys. RDR, let's see what he can do at 205. I like it. I know you called that out.
What do you think about the call out to DDP? Caio Bahayo, DDP, maybe another title eliminator at 185?
Yeah, I could see that. It's just like, that's what the only thing is with Caio Bahayo. As talented he is, as fun as the fighting nerds are. Yeah, we saw Oliveira basically shut out his opponent. I think you see Bahayo shut out a lot of his opponents, and it makes for lackluster fights because he lacks a little bit of the finishing capability, which we've seen in the regional stages. We've seen in his comeback where he has that, but he plays it safe, and that might be just his game plan, is just to stay away from danger, be very defensively sound, and not, lose the fight. We've seen that. It's like a Bill Belichick kind of thing, stop what the fighters are best at and make them try to beat you with what is not their ace card. And I feel like Bahayo goes into every fight studying his opponents and trying to take out what they do best, which he denied all the takedowns and stopped the ground game from RDR. And we knew going in, that's where RDR was going to win the fight. And it didn't get there. So Bahayo shut him out there, and he won with, like you said, a little lackluster victory.
Oh, my boy, New England Cartel, Robbie Fott. Oh, tough one. I mean, the kid is good, and you see even the stand-up in Raul Rojas Jr. is getting better.
Pressure, volume.
Yeah, I like the new coach in his corner as well. Not his dad isn't the chief guy in his corner anymore, so he's going out, being kind of like a nomad, getting experience. And I never thought John Jones's title or being the youngest champ would be at risk, but this kid is ready.
Live with Rojas, right?
It's live now, kid. He's in the top 15. What's next for this kid? Because there's a lot of big fights upcoming.
I don't know what's next. You fight a Rob Font, you definitely cracked the top 15, maybe even the top 10 now, right? So I get your point about him possibly becoming one of the youngest champions of all time, but I just like his progression. Like you said, we look at some of the guys. What's our boy chasing lightweight? I'm talking about jiu-jitsu guy trying to get his striking up, but it doesn't seem as good as his grappling. You know who I'm trying to talk about. He had the air throw. He said, I'm Ben Askren's son. Why am I drawing a blank on Ro's name?
I don't know.
But his development with his striking hasn't really come as far as what we're seeing so far with Rosas Jr. You're seeing Chiwiwi, baby. You're seeing him, absorb everything he can. Try to practice the striking as much as he possibly can, because I think at a certain point you kind of know how to grapple. I think he's evolved enough, and he's such a young age that he'll be able to absorb everything like a sponge. And so what he needs to really focus on now is the stand-up, because he, as much as he's going to be ahead of grappling with some of the guys he'll come across, I think those guys may be ahead of him in the striking. So he could just go all in on the striking, and then he can have a really rounded out game.
Yeah, Ray, I forgot his name, but it was Eddie Reynoso, Canelo's striking coach. That was the main coach for this fight for Raul.
Okay.
Raul
Chase
Rojas.
Hooper. We've liked Chase Hooper's grappling,
Yes,
but
okay.
I just feel like the striking is still kind of lagged behind. But you're seeing Rosas striking start to.
Yeah, because he's working with Canelo's coach.
There you go.
And yeah, he is in the top 15 now. You got guys like Marcus McGee, Cheeto, Vinius
Strikers?
Oliveira, Peyton Talbot ahead of him. I think he could be any of those guys,
Yeah?
especially Cheeto right now.
Where would you put Peyton Talbot? Like, is that a fight that those two can have now that kind of sets them up?
I would like it. I don't think they do it.
No.
You don't
No,
want
it's
to
two
kill
stars,
one
you
of them.
know?
Yeah, you don't want to kill one of them, but
Sooner or later they will have to.
they're gonna have to.
face each
Maybe Vinius Oliveira. They tried to make him have a big jump. They took Marcus McGee to have a big jump as well. He winded up losing. You could knock off one of those. I know Cheeto's lost 4 in a row.
Kyler Phillips, bantamweights, right? I
No,
think
he's above Kyler Phillips. Kyler
But-
Phillips is 19.
okay. I feel like he's a fight that could happen though. They haven't.
Well,
fought.
he's fighting April 18th against Charles Jordan in Winnipeg. He's the co-main
Hey,
event. You're
Air
skipping ahead to
Jordan.
the news, kid.
Hey, I'm not trying to cut ahead, but
Yeah.
a fight could fall out.
Yeah, absolutely. So, yeah, we'll see what's next for the young kid. I mean, he's 12-1. He's really good, and he's getting better every fight. So,
What's the
love to
age you
see
said
it.
youngest? He's only 20 right now.
21.
Still, what's the age? 23.
Yeah,
Josh
John
Van
Jones
missed
won
by a
at
couple
23.
months. Yeah.
Yeah. So, we saw massive line movement in this lightweight bout between Michael Johnson and Drew Dober, and Drew Dober wound up becoming really closing a big favorite.
That's crazy.
And
Wasn't the fight canceled because of that against Alexander Hernandez with Michael Johnson?
yeah.
So what's
And
going on with him? Like, what do you make of that?
I don't know. They asked Dana about it, and he said, "Yeah, we checked it out. There was nothing
That
going
post
on."
that came out like right before the fight, you know, the line was moving and we all paid attention to something about like gang activity, fixing the fight. You heard saw that, right?
Yeah, I don't know if I'm being honest. And people say, "Oh, well, you know, it's just typical." You know how much money needs to be dropped for a line to move?
Oh my God, that's Wales.
Like thousands of dollars. They're not moving it for us for $20-$25. They're not.
No, that's
they're not
$100,000 slam the other way. Yeah.
Yeah. So, and it didn't just move. Drew Dober, when we were recording, was like
Was
a
a
minus
dog.
120. No, he was like a minus. Yeah, he was a dog. He was
Yeah,
like
he was a
even
dog.
money, close at like a minus 150, minus 170. Like
When I said the lines at the time of recording last week, it was about a pick 'em. And we saw Dober, like you said, was a dog, and it just flipped on its head.
I don't get it, but he does get the knockout in round 2. Fucking Dober, man. He's a guy I can't get right.
No, we might have to, stay away. We might have to
Mhm.
have no official play when we see a Drew Dober. But I mean, like, it's just these older guys, right? I think at any certain point, right, you could have seen Michael Johnson maybe catch a champ. There wasn't any controversy. Drew Dober can find the chin. If he's going to match up with another vet again, I think maybe the bet for us not to pick a side, but to see the fight ending with a knockout.
What was my boy Zhao Long doing? I mean, I've never seen someone get 2 points taken, and then he was throwing up, or Cody Garbrandt was throwing up.
The dude,
It was insane, bro. That fight.
I got off one. Cody Garbrandt.
Oh my
The
god,
bet you and Dave hated the most. I was like,
bro.
I got to back Cody Garbrandt.
Yeah, it was terrible. Other than that, card was okay. I thought Cody Brundage should be cut. In my
I like
opinion.
RoboCop's. Yeah, he's got to be cut. So do I for backing him. But RoboCop, I like his social media presence after that, exacting his revenge. Not the only one, right? Wasn't there someone else getting a little get back? Huh. I think it might have just been the main event. That's what it was. Charles Oliveira exacting his revenge. First main of the main card, and then the main event of the main card. Both guys. RoboCop.
Oh yeah, he
and
starts
Charles
them in
Oliveira.
the first round. I forgot about that.
Yeah,
that
both of those
one.
guys getting their revenge off the fights they lost to those opponents prior.
Yeah, so credit them. It was a Very interesting card. I also want to congratulate Zhang Wei Li and Joanna Jędrzejczyk. I mean, holy shit, that was one of the best fights. It was the last fight before COVID, before the fans left, but it's been inducted to the UFC Hall of Fame. It's the first women's fight ever to be inducted into the fight wing. And if you didn't watch it live like we did, and you're watching the highlights, these women went at it.
Yeah, it didn't do it justice, honestly. To live in that moment. I mean, there's many more to come. They're pioneers for getting the women's wing started, but I'm sure we're gonna have many more women's fight. Jordan.
That's the best fight you've ever seen for women, right?
Whew, I might have to go back. I might have to. Yeah, because I mean, it depends on how you're gonna pose the question, right? You could maybe argue the upset was one of the craziest fights. So Holly Holm upsetting Ronda Rousey was one of the biggest fights, right? So I mean, there's plenty more. Maybe that's something we can,
Mine is it's the Joanna fight, and because that was one of the first cards I've ever watched.
Okay,
I was getting into it right before COVID, and then it was our song. It was Thug Rose, knocking out Zhang
with the
Wei
front
Li.
leg kick. Yep.
Holy smokes.
She has Whaley's numbers still. I mean, Whaley has not gotten those 2 losses back from Rose. So Rose forever always beat champion.
Rose is the best. So overall, kid, it was a pretty good night. Let's talk about the Freedom 250 card. Now, it was announced. It is called Freedom 250. It's on a Sunday too, which is cool. It's on Donald Trump's birthday. And this is how it's laid out. Main event is Ilia Topuria versus Justin Gaethje. Chief support, Alex Pereira versus Cyril Gane.
That's crazy.
Sean O'Malley versus Amen Zahabi.
That's hilarious.
Marcel Rufio versus Michael Chandler. Bo Nickel versus Kyle Dawkins. And they fucking love this guy, Diego Lopez. He's on every big card versus Steve Garcia. Question... because I got a lot of thoughts.
Steve Garcia's got. I think there's a reason why he was on that card too. People were like diving in on that.
Yeah. No, that's a banger of a fight.
He's gonna throw.
Are you surprised with the amount of Americans on the card?
I guess you could say that, right? You would think that a White House card would have a lot of fighters, representing USA, but I don't know. If you look at the the environment, you look at the climate right now with USA sports, we're kind of everywhere right now, whether it's on the baseball diamond or if it's on the ice rink or, we're everywhere. So it's not necessarily that you need to get the American fighters on a White House card. Maybe, grow the exposure, get some of those, Ilia Topuria, we're arguing could fill up a stadium in Spain, maybe have that international, kind of appeal towards just an American card, like something that that the American viewers are going to tune into, something we haven't seen before. I mean, like you said, in front of the White House is pretty crazy on the lawn. Maybe it's something very foreign to foreign countries. They just don't really grasp why that's such a big deal. And so to get their athletes on that stage, to have them center stage, I think can, reveal the whole story. So I think maybe that's why you go international.
I think it's very interesting how this is the main event. And I don't want to say love, because the more I look at it, the more I don't like the card. And maybe I'm
bothered by it a little bit.
Maybe I'm in the minority, but it's not the fights we want. You very much at the end of the night, and it could be a successful night. It probably will be. It's groundbreaking, historic, but you, in my opinion, are going to most likely have a Spaniard winning the main event at the White House over an American.
Yes, quite possibly. I mean, I guess you're hoping that Gaethje can get a knockout in a sense, but Ilia Topuria.
It's like you ever watch Vine?
Back in the day?
Yeah.
They were for the Vine.
So there was this funny Vine because I never really knew about it. And then my girlfriend was showing me like these classic Vines. And there was one where I guess these streamers were at this guy's house. And he's like, What are you doing at my house? And he goes, Daddy, chill. He goes, what the hell is even that? And when you said, hey, they're hoping that Justin Gaethje does not come out, I wanted to say,
what?
Chill. No, I was gonna say, Daddy, chill.
But yeah. That's the thing. It's bro. Topuria is just so scary, bro. it's like that's maybe you hate to say that Islam is, going to welterweight to avoid it, but it very well could be. I mean,
Do you
his
believe
power can
in your
carry
heart of
anywhere.
hearts? Do you believe Islam is ducking him? Because Makawi, Ilya's manager, came out and we had a manager war with him and
No, but to have Ilya go up to 170, I think it's a little better for Islam.
100%.
Yeah,
It's
he's
better for
better
him.
at that weight class. I feel that's more naturally his. I think that's Ilya's gonna have to maybe bulk a little bit to be a natural 170. I honestly do. I think he may very well walk around that, if not 180. I don't feel like Ilya is really a big guy. He's just freakishly, he has that touch of death that not a lot of people have.
He
And I
has
think that,
God-given talent.
God-given talent and power, and that translates, I think, even to 170. So not to say that Islam's running from him, but to fight Ilya in his kind of domain where Islam is killing himself to even make 155. I think that's where he wanted to kind of put the ball in his favor more, kind of stack the deck in his odds. So yeah, not that he's ducking him, but trying to be the A side in more than one way.
Yeah. I
But
just think it's not the fight we want. We want to see
sense. It makes sense, right, Charlie? It makes sense that you get Ilya and Justin as the interim champ to, Ilya was away. We got to see him prove himself as the champion, defend it for allowing an interim to take place in the first place.
One thing you could say about Ilya, he will never run away from a challenge. He invites all the smoke.
Yes, that's, I think it's just what it is for him too. Is just more of a motivating factor after dealing everything he had to come back. And if he does claim victorious in Gaethje, I bet you Ilya is going to be like, yeah, I'll go up to fight Islam. I think that's fair, and that's why I took the main event. I think we can maybe argue about the other fights.
Real quick, and I also think he's great on Twitter because he said, I'm sorry, Justin, but you are another victim because Islam keeps on running away. I will make it short for you, and you will not feel a thing. Like, he's great at Twitter.
That's the thing about these guys. The mentality that they have at the top of the heap. I mean, even when Khabib was doing his thing, when he fought Gaethje, he was like, I could have broke your arm, but I'd rather choke you. I didn't want to break your arm in front of your family now, so let me just put you to sleep nicey nice.
Oh my God, it's ridiculous. But yeah, it's not the fight that we wanted to see, and kind of bummed out about it, especially because we're American and we want it. I don't want to see it. Even as much as Ilya is a superstar, and I think he's top 2, if not the biggest star in the UFC. Him standing over an American doing the tea celebration,
that's gonna hurt.
That hurts me.
That
hurts me.
Yeah,
so,
dude.
and this fight, the chief support, everyone speculates it's it was the John Jones fight. That's the fight we wanted to see him versus Alex Pereira.
John Jones at the White House, like that makes a lot more sense.
That makes the most sense.
A Brazilian and a French native. I mean, it, like you said, another international matchup for the American card.
I just don't understand why Dana White is lying and saying they weren't negotiating. You were negotiating. It's been reported multiple times now that they were in negotiation, his lawyers. And then because you disrespected John, and he's literally done everything for this company.
After glazing him for how many hours of the day, Dana White.
And then saying he has arthritis and he has hip problems. He was actually getting ready. He had stem cell treatment. He was getting
the number
ready for
they didn't
camp.
want to pay.
And yeah, and you think these people are stupid? You just got done paying Conor Benn $15 million.
Yeah.
You think these people don't? You know what? If Conor Benn's worth $15 million, John Jones is worth $50 million.
Yeah, and Conor's worth
$100 million.
Thank you.
So you think these people don't pay attention?
We're all in on this. I mean, I get the pool is not deep for compared to a lot of casuals viewing your sport. For us diehards that know what's going on, you can't bullshit a bullshitter. Yeah. You can't be fooled, man. Fool me once, shame on you. Fool me twice, you can't get fooled again.
Yeah, so it's a shame. We wanted to see that. And I'm tired. Yes, he fought Tom Aspinall for the round and a half pretty well at 321. But this is his 5th title thing.
And he's 0-4.
Yeah, and he's 0-4. 265 against Derek Lewis, loss. Against 270 against Francis Ngannou, loss. 285 against John Jones. He went to sleep. 321. It's the old eye poke gouge. And now at the White House. This is ridiculous.
I mean, it's just goes into how we kind of started the show, where we're talking about the styles make fights, and you know what you're getting when you get a Cyril Gane match up against Alex Poatan Pereira. You're not gonna have to worry about Alex having to really worry about the grappling, because if John was in that fight, you know that's where John's going. He's gonna take you down, and it's gonna happen. So it's whether if Alex should have been able to get up, but now going into the fight, I don't think Poatan has to worry about that at all. So it's just gonna be about in 5 rounds, can Gane. I think they're going to be on him about those eye pokes as well. They're not going to allow it against Alex, how big of a star he is. So it's just about 5 rounds of Gane trying to stay away from that power.
Do you put an asterisk if Alex Pereira wins this, because it is an interim belt, but he will be a 3-division champ?
I think, yeah. I think
you have to put an asterisk.
You have to, yeah. Unfortunate, and he's still no doubtably going to be a 3-way champ, right? If he wins. But yeah, I think you would have to. You have to beat one of the golden gooses. You got to beat either John or you got to beat Tom Aspinall.
Yeah, and that's the fight to make. And Tom Aspinall is on the way to fighting.
There's fighters you need to put a belt on to make the fights bigger. And I guess maybe the interim could, just in case Cyril does beat Alex, he has a belt. But Alex Poatan, you don't need to put a belt on him. He could have gone right to undisputed heavyweight champion against whoever would have been there.
And Sean O'Malley, I put this on him because I know he comes out and says, they never offered me. They never offered me. Sean O'Malley is smart enough to know he is the type of fighter where they ask him, who do you think? Who do you want? We all want to see him versus Corey Sandhagen.
That's what I was going to say.
Zahabi
got luck of the draw there, but you said it.
Yeah, shout out to Zahabi. He's getting a hell of an opportunity, and I think he can shock the world. And if he does lose, hot take, Sean O'Malley retires, because then he's not going to have another path to the title.
How about this? Hot take, either one of them retire.
Zahabi's
38 years old.
Yeah, but he's on a massive win streak right now. So if he winds up beating and getting this opportunity and winning, I put it on Sean O'Malley. For him to never say Corey Sandhagen's name, that's just lame to me. That's lame. It's what people want. He never mentioned it,
but not since. Yeah. And he was on like Matan. I don't know if you see the other podcasts and all that stuff, but like you said there, he hadn't mentioned anything. Him and Tim had a great time, but no mention of it whatsoever.
And that's why I say it's on him. So he could come out and say, they never offered me. That's not how it works with guys like you. You decide who you want to fight.
It's true.
And you did it. And I think that's lame. And that, again, another fight we didn't want to see. I'm glad they made it up to Michael Chandler, putting him on the card. He reps the red, white, and blue, so I don't. But this is a fucking terrible matchup for him.
That's what I was saying. Like, that's why I was like, I went from crazy seeing the Poatan and Gane. I do have a ticket out for heavyweight for Poatan, so that's why I'm like, wow, they're doing that. Hilarious that it's Zahabi and not Sandhagen. And then like, damn, like Lambs to the slaughter. Michael Chandler's got to go. That's a hot one-shot roughie right now. I think as much as maybe Michael Chandler still holds on to some power, man, I don't think anybody's really hanging on at the end of one of Mauricio Ruffy's shots, bro. He's carrying maybe more power than anyone in that group, right? Like we've seen the power from John Silva. We've seen the power of Carlos Prates. Bro, Ruffy's spinning kick attacks, the length he throws at the end of his shots. I think Michael Chandler's only best bet is to try to, maybe wrestle a little bit, but to get inside. He can't be at the end.
But that's not how he fights.
And it's just not how he fights. He's going to want to kind of rush you and throw his length with his end of his strikes, but he's just not going to be as long as Ruffy in there. And I think that Ruffy's going to keep him on the outside and piece him up.
And then we get American versus American. And I think it's a great story. I'm not mad at Kyle Dawkins at all, but from like being out of the UFC, coming back, being on a win streak, and now getting to fight at the White House, got to give it up to him. And I think, to be honest, I know Bo's a favorite, but Kyle Dawkins isn't live.
Kyle Dawkins is absolutely live. And I mean, bro, he'll live up to his nickname, bro, the Dark Knight. I think, honestly, not to give into it, and not too many people are watching, but soon enough they will be, to understand that Kyle Dawkins is looking at Bo Nickel and what he's doing at REF, what his training regimen has been, and knowing that there might be no way to really stop the takedown of a Bo Nickel, if that's what, after the loss that he suffered from RDR, knowing now not to stand and let's wrestle. Kyle Dawkins is going to be ready to tap him out. I really think that he's going to be ready 100%. To play bottom, and whatever that Bo Nickel wants to do with his wrestling, I think Kyle Dawkins is skilled enough with his jiu-jitsu to maybe find a tap. I really do. So I like what you said. I think Kyle Dawkins is live.
Why is Colby scared to fight Bo?
Yeah, after all you talk about repping
Yeah.
You think Colby would have been in that card, but it's not done yet, right?
Yeah, that's what they said. There is possibility for another fight to
There's
happen.
still another fight, but it's not like they're going to add more than just one more fight. And it's all going to be on one card, like
Yeah.
not like a preliminary, not like
Yeah, it's all one card. And then it's going to open up for right now, Diego Lopez taking on Steve Garcia. I love this fight. And
best fight on the card.
I love Steve Garcia. I really
Me
hope
too.
he wins. I think he knocks him out too.
Diego Lopez is still a threat. He looked bad in his rematch against Volk. Maybe
he actually got worse, I thought.
Yeah, I thought he did, but maybe Volk really just knew what was coming his way, and Diego Lopez didn't change anything.
No.
So maybe it was a little bit of that. But I think what you get with Diego Lopez is the willingness to stand and beg with Steve Garcia. What I haven't seen is Diego Lopez's power really coming through. Yeah, he got that spinning, elbow knockout of John Silva, but that was a charging John Silva, reckless abandon, no defense whatsoever. Steve Garcia is throwing combinations behind his blocks, behind his counters. Man, I think that's a great fight. In my opinion, I think that was a great way to start off the card. Arguably the best fight of the whole card.
I mean, he's surrounded by a great team down there in New Mexico and Jackson Wink as well, Steve Garcia. So I love that. That was the only fight I actually was like, I like.
Okay.
Yeah, I was like, that's a banger.
I laughed at as a hobby fight. That's why I was like, that's hilarious.
It's a joke. And maybe I'm like the old man, like get off my lawn take, but I don't think the card is that good. And again, I think this whole episode is expectation. My expectation was it's the White House. It's going to be this. It's going to be that.
They said 6-7 title fights. So
nothing.
I didn't say that. They said that. And then, like you said, I would say under promise, over deliver, not over promise, under deliver.
Anyway, Chayo Pataya, he did get the win, the inaugural Zuffa Cruiserweight champion in the main event, but he got the unanimous decision.
Yeah, he cruised. He cruised all right.
Didn't get the knockout, though.
No, I thought he'd push it. Like I said, I had him in the early going. A lot of his fights that didn't go to the judges, because I think there's only a handful of them that have. He was getting those knockouts within 6 rounds. So I thought that was a great live bet. But yeah, like you said, he's the inaugural Zuffa Boxing Cruiserweight champion, and he certainly cruised to a title.
And that's real. My last thing on the whole UFC not making the fights that the fans want. Back in the day, was it it was
Lorenzo Fertitta.
Fertitta brothers. They listened to the fans and made the fights that we wanted to see. Right now, they have no incentive to make the fights. They're going to get paid regardless.
Yep, money's coming in. And at the end of the day, I think they're thinking such short term. This is just my opinion. I think they're thinking such short term that, fans aren't not watching the events now, but long term people are going to stop watching the product. And I think long term, if they continue down this road, it is going to affect the UFC. What they want to do right now is disrupt boxing. They're going to put on 100+ shows. Unfortunately, Dana's focus could be on that a little, as it went from slap to this power slap to now Zuffa Boxing, and letting Mick Maynard, Sean Shelby kind of make the matches for the UFC. Not that they don't have the passion of it, but we want a concentrated effort here, and you're just not seeing that. I feel like
it's a shame. And to be honest, even I've only been watching the UFC for 6-7 years, and I'm growing impatient. I could just imagine you and Ant, who have watched.
Yeah, my only argument is if you say that they're being so short-term focused and oriented, how are we not getting these fights, right? That's what you would think. If they were focused on the short term, you would think you'd get the Ileana Islam fight. You would think you'd get the Tom and John Jones fight, right? But they're
not willing to pay it. They're not willing.
Okay, that's where the argument could be made, is that they're just not willing to meet the bill, meet the quota to what they're expecting these fighters now are wanting to be paid, and they deserve to be paid. I'm just thinking that if you were thinking as short-term as you said, they would have been on it to get these fights going, but they're we'll have those fights down there when we can maybe meet those demands. So
they've said that, but then we never got Francis John,
and we never will unless John decides to go fight for MVP or something,
or maybe he gets his walking papers. Maybe they grant him and say, you know what, Godspeed.
And they've done that before.
They traded one of the best fighters in the world, in Demetrius Johnson, for Ben Askren. For
all love and respect for Ben Askren, but
I love Ben Askren, but it's just like crazy
worthy moment. You just traded one of the greatest defending champions of all time in Demetrius Mighty Mouse Johnson for a Jorge Masvidal flying knee that we can all look back and laugh at. So
There you go. All right, kid, let's get to our picks. But before we do that, a quick word from our sponsor, brought to you each and every episode by Viva Tequila Seltzer, the most refreshing hard seltzer on the market, hands down. Is no wonder why Viva was voted #1 hard seltzer in the world by San Francisco World Spirit Competition. With only 88 calories, 0 carbs, 0 sugar, and a light 4.5 ABV. Viva is the perfect drink for your post-game celebration, as it was created with that active lifestyle in mind. We flavor tequila seltzer because flavor is the spice of life. And we like our drinks with just a kick, just like how we like our lives, whether it's Huckleberry playing around a golf with the boys or an elderberry watching UFC Vegas 114. It doesn't matter. Our favorites pair perfectly with that artisanal Blanco tequila for that subtle and refreshing drink. I believe here at Axe Kick Picks and at Viva is to live long, live well, and live it up. All right, kid, let's get to it. We got a really good main event, I think, at 145 pounds against Josh Emmett and Kevin Viejos, the Argentine, huge favorite, though.
Fast rising.
Yeah, what is his fourth fight in the UFC? It's crazy. So, yeah, I got a few fights, but I know you probably have a lot more. So why don't you take it away? What do you got?
Absolutely. You know me. I'll try to, give you a little opinion on the whole card here. So let's kick it off in the prelims. I see a women's strawweight matchup. You got Piera Rodriguez taking on Sam Hughes. And as we mentioned, a lot of rematches occurring in 2026. This is one of them. Piera Rodriguez has beaten Sam Hughes, I believe, in the past. -155. She stays the favorite. Over a +150 Sam Hughes. And I know you like Sam Page. Sometimes she comes in clutch as the dog. But, I'll lay the chalk here. I think for the first fight of this Apex card, we're probably going to see the judges. So very chalky, -460, maybe a parlay piece. Probably the safest bet on here to take the over 2.5 rounds. That's the way to get it started. As compared to last week where I was just taking chance after chance and it did not pay off. So I think this week we're looking a little chalky, but let's try to make some money either way. Let's go to bantamweights here. 135 pounds. We have Lon Lacerda making his comeback at +210, man. Taking on Hector Sosa. -230. I like the Spaniard. I like Hector Sosa. I like what I've seen out of him. I think he has an overall good game, whether it's on the mat or if it's standing. And I think he does have the knockout powder. I think I see Sosa, be able to catch somebody late. So Lacerda seems to be, in it for the first couple of rounds, but starts to lose traction towards the third, gets a little slop in there. And I think a finish could come late. But like I said, since I'm laying a little chalk on this card, I feel fine laying it with Sosa. -230. I think he gets it done. I think the fight's his. Now, Bia Mesquita, if you don't know, IBJJF world champion. She's been through the ringer when it comes to jiu-jitsu trials and tournaments. I mean, she's been a world champion. She's done it. And right now, if you look at her MMA record, I think a majority of her wins have come via submission. So I think that's live. The only thing that comes into question is the size of Montserrat Rendon. She is a big bantamweight here, but odds don't indicate that she has a shot against the jiu-jitsu player that Mesquita is. So +575 is something that's enticing for me in a women's fight with the size she offers, but I'm on the other side. I like my grapplers. I'm biased towards them. And with this level that she has, they tend to show it. So give me Mesquita. I'd lay it, but I would be lying if I wouldn't say I favored the submission to happen here. But I did play the decision because, like I said, the women's fights, it possibly reached the judges' scorecards. So another fight here that could possibly reach the judges' scorecards, unfortunately. Your boy Eric Anders always is exciting, but it's the fight against Brad Tavares. That's the thing. Brad Tavares is slick in there. I think even as many fights as he had in the UFC, he's a hard out. And he just seems to be in control of a lot of fights in here. I do think Eric Anders' path to victory is probably catching Tavares, possibly early. I mean, I guess he has power late. You've seen him get Wyman out of there in the second or third round, was it last time? But that's about a couple years removed now. And the last two performances we've seen some Anders have not looked all the best. So I do think I'd lean Tavares in this one. But my play is actually the over 2.5 rounds, -175. Once again, a little chalky here. But Anders could squeak one out. Maybe he knocks down Tavares. That's why it's hard for me to fade your boy. And hard for me to back Tavares with how it has happened to me historically. So I'll go with the over 2.5 rounds, -175. Might be a smart bet.
I like that.
Yeah. Man, I like this next one here. Guys might not know about Manuel Souza, but Manu Mito has been all over the place. He's fought in the PFL. I think he's fought all over, man. Balaji Oki, I like to come out of the Dana White Contender Series, but as you've seen him reach higher levels, even at the debut stages of the UFC, he just seems to be a step behind, whether it's on the feed or if it comes to the grappling. And I think if it hits the mat here, I think Souza could tap him out. So I'm all over Manuel Souza, minus 235. I think he could finish it on the feet. He could finish it on the ground, or he can have a dominant decision here. So
is this his debut?
Manuel Souza?
Yeah.
No, I don't think so. I think he's had one fight in the UFC. Let me just make sure of that for you before we get talking about some of our favorite fights. I think there's one that we both like.
This is his debut.
So it was the Contender Series for Souza.
Contender Series.
So
Balaji Oki.
Yeah, Balaji Oki had us already 2 UFC fights, and he won one against Aswell, who did not hit. Michael Aswell, since joining UFC, has not looked good. And then Mason Jones, right? Didn't Mason Jones come and beats Jeremy Stevens? And then
he did.
And then
Jeremy Stevens is actually back now.
Bro, please break that news later. But Mason Jones is really good. That was a tough fight for Jeremy Stevens to come back to. So I am picking Souza, even though the Balaji Oki loss wasn't the worst that I thought. I still like Manuel Souza. I think he's a really good fighter. Champion in the other promotions.
1-0 in the PFL, 1-0 in LFA, 1-1 in Bellator, and 1-0 in Contender Series. We'll see how he does in the UFC.
Absolutely. So before we get to the fight, what we will discuss together. I'm a Elijah Smith fan. I like the kid. He's actually one of the few newcomers that I actually feel comfortable laying the $2 on. So against Su Young Yu, Jiu-Jitsu, he's a fun guy. He could come up with a victory every now and again, but I do think Elijah Smith's good. So like I said, here I'll lay the $2 with Elijah Smith. But we've made it to the heavyweight matchup that I think is very intriguing for a lot of reasons, because you get an absolutely jacked Vitor Petrino who moved from light heavyweight and has probably found his home at heavyweight here, kind of fitting the mold, being a little more athletic and faster than some of his other opponents. But I still see and sense gassing. You still see that. As it gets past the second round, that muscle is to carry a lot of oxygen, and it does happen. And Steven Asplin, we love his story. Coming from the massive weight loss that he has, the thing that he has more than I think most heavyweights in his division is going to be that gas tank. I feel like when it gets hardest, he's going to be able to push the pedal down and be able to, push his gas tank further than a lot of people. And so though he's dog price at plus 210, I think he's live just because of that. I think the volume of punches that he throws in here are going to say something, and it may amount to something in the third round. So I do have Asplin third round KO TKO here. I'm not just taking him as a dog. I am going all in on Steven Asplin here with third round KO TKO at plus 2,500. So that's 25-1, right?
Yep.
The X factor is if Petrino could drag him to the mat and sub him. I think that's going to be the thing that we've seen in the past, that Asplin might not have the best ground game. And that's where I was saying, hey, throw him with Josh Hokett. Let's see if he could get in there. But as heavy a wrestler Josh Hokett could be, let's see if he can handle Petrino first before we even get to that matchup. This is a big step up in competition.
Give me the dog. I agree. Give me Steven Asplin on the money line. You could get that right now at plus 210. I'm not going to go knockout. I'm already getting 2-1. You put a half a unit on it, you're up two units already at that point. So I love it. And I think you said it perfectly. Yes. Vitor Petrino is built like a brick fucking house. He's huge every which way, but he still gasses. And I think it's because he has so much mass. If he can withstand the first round, Steven, I think eventually he's going to come out of the second and third round, and eventually he might put him away and win this fight 2 to 3 rounds. So yeah, I like Steven here. I think this line is mispriced, and I'm going to go dog hunt. I think the value is with Steven Asplin here.
Right on. Yeah, I think he's a rising star there. And to get past Petrino, like I said, arguably a top 25, though very light heavyweight division, still a top 25 guy. You certainly make way by getting a victory there. So let's move on to this fight here that I honestly hate because I had to fade Chris Curtis, man. It's hard not backing Orlby in a lot of his spots here. I think he's looked like a destroyer. He's had his issues 155 cutting the weight, but I think he has not missed weight at 170, has he? That hasn't happened.
Not to my knowledge.
I feel like he's going to be better at 170. He's proved that he's got a couple like first round finishes so far at 170 here. It's the fact that I backed Orlby at the price and against Chris Curtis of all people. Like we always like back in the action, man. He always comes in clutch and finds a way to make us money. But I just think that as much as it is hard to submit him, and we've argued with like Max Holloway and sometimes I don't know, man. Orobly finds a way. He's very strong. I think he's deceivingly extremely strong. And if he takes Chris Curtis down, I don't know, he might be able to like neck crank him or something. So it's also about the touch too. Maybe Orobly can. I would hate to see Chris Curtis get finished. It's not likely to happen. But it just, why am I laying the $3 on Orobly if that's not live, right? So I am taking the chalk, but like I said, be wary of a finish here by Mike Tegbeck.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I think another fight that's going under the radar is this flyweight matchup here. And he lives up to his nickname all the time, Bruno Silva. Yeah, you could say, okay, he's lost a couple fights prior. Third round finishes to a couple flyweight contenders. Good ones at that, right? What was it, Alani Kavanaugh and a Josh Van?
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, the competitions are fantastic. I mean, Charles Johnson has a similar resume, but I don't think Bruno Silva's a pushover by any stretch of the imagination. So I think the line's is fair. You know, Charles Johnson coming off the loss that he is, and he's still favored here. He has the length. I think he's going to be a bigger size at 125 than most other guys. So just my fear of Bruno Silva not being a pushover and Charles Johnson not being able to get the finish makes me think to go with the chalk again, seeing that there may be a late finish as it's on the table, or we reach the judges. So over 2.5 rounds, minus 165. You know, I'm looking at it here. I laid chalk in 3 total so far. You may want to parlay them.
Mm-hmm.
Like I said, I had over 2.5 rounds with the first fight. The Tavares and Anders was over 2.5 rounds, and then now this one over 2.5 rounds. I'll get the odds for you on the end of that. I might make a parlay on those 3 totals.
All right.
Yeah, and
the Hulk.
Yeah, we're gonna kick it off in the main card now, right?
Yeah, now, main card.
Fight main card, 205 pounds, like you said, at the Hulk. Ion Cutelaba, bro, he's always like there to ruin your parlay or ruin your ticket. You know what I mean? Like Umar C, we've been backing him heavily, and then he disappoints us, right? So it's a kind of a trap fight. You're like, okay, Ion Cutelaba, like, bro, he's a dog price here. I could back him and make some money off of here because Umar C, we don't know what to make of him. He could have been overhyped, but I think
though?
Yeah, just as much as you could maybe get burnt by Omar C, you can get burnt by Ion Cutelaba. Yeah, I feel like he's been so crazy. And granted, the finishes haven't come so much as of late as he's gotten a little older in his career for Cutelaba. Remember, when he first started, he was just going for the knockout, going for the kill every single time. But now you've seen a more reserved guy utilizing grappling, utilizing wrestling, and just being a tough out. But you know, like I said, as both of these guys disappoint all the time, and I don't know what to make of either of them, something always controversial comes out of these type of fights.
Yeah.
So though there might be an onus to take like a disqualification or something like that, or maybe the under, I got something for you. I'm going long shot. I'm going draw hunting here. Wow. Umar C versus Ion Cutelaba ends in a draw at plus 8,000.
I got the over 1.5 rounds, and it's a little chalky, but I think it's worth the squeeze right now. You can get that at minus 155. Yeah, I see minus 155 for over 1.5 rounds. I don't mind that. Yeah. Hulk is very durable, and Omar Sy only one loss. It was to Alonzo Menfield, and it went all 3 rounds. Two of the last
used wrestling, right?
Yeah, 2 of the last 3 fights went all 3 rounds. So Dong Won Jung went all 3 rounds, and he did bounce back and get the knockout in round 1 back in September for Umar Sy. I just think he's too big of a favorite. Minus 250, I think, is a little excessive against Ion Cutelaba and all the experience that he has. But I do think he's durable enough to withstand the 2-minute and 50-second mark of round 2. So yeah, I'm going to be on the over 1.5 rounds here.
That might have been a sharper bet to make. You know me, I love making headlines and trying to get the most out of it. But honestly, your bet might be the sharper one and a safer bet to make some money. But I will be laughing all the way to the bank if that draw hits with these controversial
That'd be
fights.
Fucking hilarious.
145 pounds. We have Marwan Rahiki here. You know, is it New Zealand or Australia? I didn't see the star on the flag, but it's got to be New Zealand, right? Minus 235.
It is. Let me just double check. He's from Sydney.
Okay, so it's just a tough fight here for me.
Contender series kid.
Yeah, and he looked good. That's I think why
he got the knockout in round 2.
And Harry Hardwick, his debut was no favors. It was a tough fight. And I'm gonna go with Harry Hardwick. I'm gonna take a chance
coming off that loss.
Yeah, I'm gonna take Harry Hardwick here. Just to say that a guy like Rahiki is maybe overvalued. And that's probably more why I'm going to take a dog here, because Harry Hardwick, for most of the promotions that he's been, I'm pretty sure he was a Cage Warriors champion, right?
Yeah,
So
he was.
we've seen champions not find their footing in the UFC when they first join, but then get it together and actually find success here. And I think maybe similar to this type of situation, he's not fighting a veteran or a guy who's been here in the UFC. He's fighting a guy coming off the Dana White Contender Series. So if you're giving me plus $2 value on a guy who is an ex-champion, I'm going to go and take it. So as much as Rahiki could be skilled and get a victory here, I think the value is with Harry Hardwick. I like him. Nothing on you.
No, I want no parts in this fight. Guy making his technical debut, guy who was an ex-champion in Cage Warriors, comes in.
Didn't look the best.
Got calf kicked to death in round 1 and lost. I want I want to see more film on both of these guys before I start laying valuable money that I earn.
All right.
And I think it's an interesting spot on the card, if I'm being honest.
I thought it would have been earlier on the card, not in the main.
But that's what they think of Harry Hardwick then.
Yeah, get some eyes. And speaking of, this featherweight matchup should, because we all like Andre Touchy-Feely, plus 345 here against Jose Delgado, minus 335. And with you and I, we've been doing this for how long now? 4+ years, 5+ years, and we've been covering Andre Feely since the beginning. And ever since that no contest against Daniel Pineda, it has been a back and forth affair with Andre Feely. Going into his last fight, we predicted that he would get the victory, in which he did. So going back to those back
against C-Rod.
Yeah, going back to those back and forth matchups, you and I covering Andre Feely, we've gotten it right, I think, the past 6 times with his back and forth. He gets a win, we backed him, we hit it, we know the next fight to back the loss. And
so dating back to 2022, he gets a split decision against Bill Algeo. Then loses to Nathaniel Wood. Then wins against Lucas Almeida. Then loses to Haneke Dan Ige, then beats Cub Swanson, then loses to Melky Costa, and then he just won against Christian Rodriguez. He is losing.
Carlos Delgado, Jose Delgado, Carlos Delgado, X-Men, big all-time
legend.
Minus 335. Give me Jose Delgado. He will be the most XP I'll be laying on for my verdict predictions. Guaranteed win.
But I will say, even though we are going with this trend, sometimes it doesn't always.
Hey, it's with but with him, it's been 100%.
100%.
With
dating back to
2022. Yeah, we've been talking about this for, like I said, 3-4 years now. So
yeah,
let's see if it keeps going. Let's see if the streak continues. Going with Delgado. Chief support, co-main event, strawweight matchup here. Amanda Lemos plus 170, taking on the Savage, Jillian Robertson, minus 175. I don't think I've seen a Jillian, as much as I knew to back the trend with Andre Feely, I don't think I've seen a fight where I haven't backed Jillian Robertson here. Yeah. I did like Lemos when she first made her appearance in the UFC. I liked the striking, and she had that finishing capability, but I think age has caught up to her. And I really think if it's not now, when are we going to get the championship run for Jillian Robertson? So I think the Savage is the pick here. I'll lay the chalk. I think the submission's live, but it could go to decision, as you get with some women's fights. But in this co-main event, we're really pushing the Canadian here to be a spotlight star.
If not now, when for Jillian Robinson? And I agree. I think this is the time for her. I think she's the clear favorite. She deserves to be this big of a favorite. If she stands up and bangs with Amanda Lemos, Dean Thomas needs to be fired, because that is not the game plan you want to do with Amanda Lemos. But my official play, honestly, fight to go to decision at minus 144. I think it goes all 3 rounds. Yes, there's an opportunity to get the submission. I think she will be hunting for it, but we know how bad Amanda Lemos is off her back. I just think there are levels to it, and I just think Jillian Robertson is one of the most elite fighters right now at 115 on the ground. So, yeah, I think she gets a big win over here, and I think she enters the top 6, top 5, and she's like one fight away at 115. And key, if not now, when?
When low key, she would have been under the radar for end of year as champ. If she gets this victory, I mean, she's like right there.
Yeah, so fight go to distance at minus 145. That is my official play, but I am going to sprinkle a little on Jillian Robertson to win by decision at plus 185.
Yeah, that's some good value there. Unfortunately, as we may want to see some, excitement after what we saw in the numbered event. I actually, like I said, in my verdict predictions, I have every main card fight going to the judges. And if that gives you a little insight into the main event here, 145 pounds, I think Josh Emmett's going to have to turn back the clock here at plus 425, as he's done. He's certainly done against some of these upstarts. But Kevin Vallejos, the Argentine, is a little bit different. D-Rock, give us your thoughts on the minus 425 favorite.
I'm glad I'm leading it off. And if there's any indication of where I'm going, and I'm no bookkeeper or odds maker, but this just is extremely mispriced. I don't care if this is his first fight or his fourth fight. He should not be this big of a favorite, Kevin Vallejos. Give me Josh Emmett at plus 430. The experience he's been in there with Ilia Topuria and didn't get knocked out. That says a lot. Josh Emmett is elite. Yeah, he ran into a lot of good fighters as of late. You lose to Yusuf Zalal, who's on a big one. Lerone Murphy, Ilia Topuria, Yair Rodriguez. Those are all elite fighters. And then he went against Bryce Mitchell. I would say most of those fighters would be favored against
Vallejos
as well. So I'm going with the number here. There's value. I'll do a half a unit. I wouldn't do a full unit because he's a plus 430 underdog. But I think if he survives, the first round or two, he is live. The longer this fight goes, the more Josh Emmett is live. I got to go with the value here. Give me Josh Emmett.
The power holds. I mean, just look at him. Like, he's always in tremendous shape. I mean, and bro could throw one hell of a punch. So I am on the opposite side. But now you got me thinking here, bro. Like, how you kind of checked me with Harry Hardwick. Because, I kind of go for like a dog in the card when I'm seeing a lot of chalk. And in the prelims, I already have one. I might need to switch it here.
We talked to Dave. The main event dogs have been barking. Charles Oliveira.
Just like you said. Yeah, bro. And that's what I've been doing in all in 2026. I normally like backing the dogs in the main event. And 2025 didn't pay off too much. But so far this year, we've been cooking, man. And so, like I said, I do have Kevin Vallejos now. But with this episode and with us discussing, I do think you're right. I think the value is tremendously on Josh Emmett. Man, I might be switching my picks around from instead of taking Harry Hardwick as a dog, I might be going Josh Emmett. I normally don't, shy away from who I normally, pick going into these episodes. But there's something to be said about what Dylan spoke of. You go against the Ilia Topuria and you don't get knocked out. Look at all the greats that have. And that was at 145 where you're a smaller guy.
Yeah.
Josh Emmett is a freak. And at 40+ year olds, he could certainly turn the clock back. I'm changing my pick. Let's second from Kevin Vallejos to Josh Emmett. Dylan has certainly changed my mind.
Let's go. And usually I don't want to speak for Joe, but personally, I never back the older fighter, but this one I have to. I am not picking the guy, I'm picking the number.
Yeah, and the value is there.
The value has to be with Josh Emmett. So we are Josh Emmett fans on
Let's
Saturday.
go, baby.
Let's go. Yeah, we got some news here. You mentioned it a little earlier about the MVP, the Ronda Rousey and Gina Carano fight. Francis Ngannou is taking on Philip Lins on the undercard May 16th on Netflix. Tough matchup for my boy Philip Lins, I'm being honest.
He's going to shock the world.
Wow.
Hey, man, I mean, it's funny. Renan Ferreira, you thought maybe he could test a little bit of Ngannou, right, on the ground. Ngannou, for the most part, for the fighters he's fought against where he's done the wrestling, they're not grapplers. Renan Ferreira, they're not. But Philip Lins, he's an all-around fighter. It's just I feel like we've seen Philip Lins get starched before. I'm pretty sure. I think you've seen Philip Lins. He's a really good fighter. I think he's only got a couple losses, like 2 or 3, right, on his professional record. But, man, did he lose by knockout one of those times? I just think, even though he's gone through the boxing Francis Ngannou has, I feel like when he's going to get back into those MMA gloves, he's going to feel right at home. And I think Philip Lins is going to get caught. So, yeah, as much as I would like to back a Philip Lins in that spot, I think Francis Ngannou is going to knock him out.
We got a lot of cards and fights that were announced yesterday with Dana White. I put it in chronological order. So we'll start. And you mentioned the guy, Kyler Phillips, who I think is a very interesting fighter. He gets the chief support at UFC Winnipeg, April 18th against Charles Jourdain. What do you think about that one for Kyler?
Well, that's the thing. It's just if that fight doesn't get made, I was hoping for maybe another type of matchup there. But I've been a Kyler Phillips fan. I think the Matrix is really good when he gets in there. He's got overall game. He can grapple. He can strike. It's just like the next evolution of mixed martial arts fighters. Some of these guys have just come up through that system rather than one specific art. So he's like the culmination of a mixed martial artist reaching their pinnacle.
UFC 116, April 25th, main event, 5 rounds. Aljamain Sterling against Yusuf Zallah. Very interesting they're putting him in the Apex 2 weeks before Newark.
As much as people are complaining about they're doing Aljo dirty by putting him in the Apex and not an easy matchup with Zalal at all. But if Aljo can beat Yusuf Zalal, I think he gets a title shot. I'm going to be the one to say Aljo could deserve a title shot after that. He comes from 135. He's a champion. You give him no easy path to 145. Zalal beats Aljo, a former champ. We're going to be arguing for a Zalal title shot. So why not the other way around? I think as much as people could say Aljo's getting disrespected here, he's also getting an opportunity.
That's a fair point. I didn't think of it like that. I think it might not be the fight fans want. Very high level fight. Very high level between two very technical fighters in Aljo
they both can grapple.
Yeah.
Aljo's
should be a banger of a fight.
Yeah.
I don't disagree. I think it's a good fight.
I'm high on Zalal, bro.
Yeah,
but we respect Aljo.
Yeah, Aljo's from a strong, what do they call it? Strong City or Long Island City? Whatever.
Strong Island.
Strong Island. There you go. Benny Dariush, his fight was canceled. He was supposed to be on one of these upcoming cards, but now they feed him to the wolves in Quill and Silk Hill.
His parents own a bakery.
Yeah.
I ain't messing with nobody who owns it. If they ever say, you want some sweets? I got some cupcakes for you. I'm like, yo, stay away from me because you're just going to hurt me. My bad. It's a good matchup. It's a good matchup.
It is a good matchup. I just think Benny, it's a tough look for him right now. Getting knocked out and everything, but we'll see. Again. Yeah. And that is the chief support of Perth, UFC Perth in May 2nd. May 9th, right here in our backyard, Brick City, Newark, New Jersey, UFC 328, headlined by Hamza Chimaev versus Sean Strickland. The co-main is Alec Volkov taking on Elvis's cousin Waldo Cortez Acosta.
They had to bring out the Dominicans for Jersey, baby.
Of course, you had to. They do move Sean Brady and Joaquin Buckley here to the featured event. I like that. Jan Blachowicz, they had to bring a Polish guy over and fight Bogdan Guskov. King Green as well, fighting Jeremy Stevens. Welcome back, Jeremy Stevens. I love that.
This is such a card for you and I, though, bro.
Oh, I love it.
Give me a poppy. Like, bro, we're going to be out there in force, bro. I don't care. As media personnel or as a fan, I got to be there for May 9th.
It's going to be we're definitely going to try to be there, if not covering it, just enjoying the fight. Yeah. Guess the line. Hamza Chimaev, Sean Strickland.
Hamza Chimaev, minus 250.
Hamza Chimaev, minus 500. Sean Strickland, plus 385.
Wow.
Are you surprised they went
No,
with Sean?
No, I was going minus 250 with Hamza. I mean, it's just, everybody is going to be on him. And the only fight that I think is favorable for Sean Strickland is when it's a stand-up. Like, we didn't expect that he would do as well against Izzy, but we should have known that Izzy's not going to really threaten the takedowns in here. But right out of the gate what Hamza's going to do. He's going to dive for an ankle. Yeah. He's going to dive to take Sean Strickland down. And maybe Sean Strickland's got great, submission skills and grappling. I just haven't seen it too much in the octagon, right? Most of Sean Strickland's fights have been able to stay standing. I just think it's inevitable that Hamzat's going to get it to the ground. So, yeah, I think exactly right why the odds are indicated the way they are.
We saw it the last 2 fights or 2 of the last 3. I mean, as big underdog, Sean Strickland shocks the world.
But with the lineup that they have, arguably a better card than the Freedom 250 card. And low key, they're going to sell that thing out.
Oh, yeah.
The Jersey folk are going to come out and the names, they're going to sell it out, bro.
100%. So, yeah, I love the card. I think it's a really good. Are you surprised they passed up on Nasruddin? What do you do with him?
Yeah. It's just like an Armin card. They have it in their back pocket. As much as it hurts, as we see with PFL fighters, as they're clamoring to get fights, and it's not fair for their career. It's something that the companies are using. They're using to their advantage.
It is not a meritocracy, I'll tell you that much. UFC Vegas 117 at the Apex, May 16th. We got Almighty Arnold Allen taking on Melky Costa. What a fucking fight this is.
Bro, Mil Costa has built himself into something special, right? Like
And I think he's taking the right fights.
Yeah, he's taking the great fights that are stylistic for him. And I mean, he's showing up every single time out there. He's got a full skill set. He's got head kicks. He's got submissions. I'm a Mel Costa fan, bro. But that's a tough fight.
I was just gonna say, but don't disrespect Arnold Allen. He is game.
That's the thing. Like, I do think it might have to get dragged to the mat. You know, Arnold Allen's boxing is really crisp. So,
Yeah.
I mean, anything could happen when it comes to the standing right there. It really
May
can.
30th, UFC Maku main event. Davison Figueroa taking on Sang Yadong.
Macau, China again?
Yep. And then we got in the chief support Zhang Menyang against Alonzo Menfield. And then the third fight is Sergey Pavlovich taking on Towson Teixeira. Yeah, boy.
Hey, you got the Mountain Tiger taking on Alonzo Menfield. I would probably be leaning to Zhang there.
He laid an egg last time they put him in a big spot, though.
But I called it. I knew Johnny Walker was going to be up for that.
Yeah, you did.
Yeah. So, and they love Figueiredo out there because I think this is the second time he's been in Macau.
Yeah.
So
he likes it.
Yeah. And what was that third matchup?
Sergey Pavlovich taking on Towson Teixeira.
The fall of Sergey Pavlovich. Am I wrong? What's happened to him? Right?
Towson Teixeira ain't good either. I know he just went 3 rounds, and that's like good for his stamina, but he ain't good either. I don't think.
No, but I just think you had Pavlovich right for the title, and ever since getting knocked out of another loss, and now he's in this type of matchup. I mean, what do we think about Pav? Right, going forward?
We will see. But I'm burying the lead. I saved the best for last. Main event: UFC Vegas 118, June 6th. Remember the name Bilal Muhammad, main event against Gabriel Bonfim. That's a hell of a fight.
That's a tough fight. You know, Bonfim seems that he's worked himself to this point where he might be ready, but he's going to not just only make you remember, he's going to remind everyone, remember the name.
Oh, I love it.
That's what I saw. A lot of people saying that, damn, why you do an ex-champ like Bilal and Aljo? You can't lie. You and I know this. The UFC has had it out for Bilal and Aljo, guys
Both
like that. And they shouldn't have been. They've done nothing but been favorable for the company. And you and I know both like they saved that UFC 288 card. So shout out them.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, and this is a great opportunity to silence all the noise. Bilal via domination. He's going to put it on him.
Bro, there's no way he's going to lose that fight against Bonfim.
I don't see it.
No.
I would be like, thank you. This is a nice fight for me.
And that's right. I was going to say, without having the whole crowd and all the onus of worrying about fandom and all that, bro, just get in there, focus on fighting. I think
get a win and get your money and don't get hit.
That's what I'm saying. When it comes to the grappling, don't get hit, make a whole lot of cash and
walk out. Yeah.
Yeah, bro. So that's what I expect from Bilal.
Yeah. No boxing news, but Joe, let's go to Poland. End it with KSW 116. What do you got?
That's right. For the welterweight championship, like I said, a very chalky weekend. Mardars Fleminas, he's been fighting forever, and he's deserved this title opportunity, but it will be thwarted against Adrian Bartnosinski. He is just too powerful in there, too big. At minus 800 right now, you're seeing the odds in his favor. No props just yet, but you might want to hunt for a Bartnosinski inside the distance because I just think he's that talented. So, yeah, Adrian Bartnosinski for retaining his KSW welterweight championship.
I love it, kid. Thank you so much. Enjoy the fights this weekend. Any big plans going to B-dubs?
No, probably not. You've seen a big precipitous drop off with no pay-per-views in B-dubs, unfortunately. They got to do some like party platters, get them some revenue coming in there. But honestly, maybe try to catch a Coastal game if
nice
up a little bit, because we got tricked. We got that fall spring and now it's freezing again. So
yeah, literally. You know what I'm going to be doing this weekend? Conference tournament, UFC, and WBC, baby. Let's go USA. Kid, enjoy the fights. Good luck on your bets, and we will see you guys on Friday. Peace.